All right, well, I think we will go ahead and get started. It's right at 9 o'clock. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. Looks like we picked maybe a fairly good day with the way the weather is. So got some rain out in the Midwest, and I see there's folks joining us from a lot of different areas. So I appreciate everybody taking a few minutes of their day to log into this webinar and to learn a little bit more about ServiTech Bridge. I know your time's pretty hard to come by the way it is, and hopefully you'll kind of get a theme as far as what ServiTech Bridge can do for time savings and giving you information about what's happening out in the field without you necessarily standing right out in the field, and help you make better decisions in real time and really have insights to what's happening and making good decisions without, like I said, making the time commitment to be in every field at all times, which we all know is almost impossible these days with everything that's happening. So as a very quick overview of what ServiTech Bridge field intelligence platform is, for those of you who haven't heard about it yet or haven't seen it, I know some folks on this call have already subscribed, and we're in the process of deploying some sensors as we speak. So got a variety of people on here, so I'll try and hit all the main topics, but hopefully you'll find something for you on this call. ServiTech Bridge is a subscription service. We're not selling you hardware. It's turnkey. There's no equipment to own or buy. And we give you a variety of different sensors that you can subscribe to and have an understanding about what's happening out in your field. So as you can see on the screen, you can have a soil moisture subscription, rainfall measurements, pivot status. Field imagery comes with every sensor subscription, so you'll have field imagery. Weather stations are a pre-order item that we're going to be deploying in about a month. We have automated growth modeling to make that make the information that you're getting more usable without a lot of input by the user. Then a few other things coming down the road, kind of in that bottom right-hand part of the screen, the flow meter monitoring and pressure sensor. Those are things that will be coming out later this summer. Well status and fan status, those items are on pre-order too, but those will be delivering here in the next month or so as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options as far as what you need to know more about out in that field, and the ServiTech Bridge can deliver that information to you. So why do you need ServiTech Bridge, or what's it going to help you with? I mean, again, it tells you what's happening out in that field. You can be out in that field today, and as soon as you leave, the weather changes, a pest comes in, you get rainfall, and things are changing all the time out there. And unless you're there every single day, you're not going to know exactly what's happening. And not only not being there, but we're actually measuring things. We're measuring soil moisture, we're measuring rainfall. We're telling you with precision where your pivot is, those types of things. We're taking imagery and measuring the variability across that field. So it's not just a kind of side of the road view, it's understanding what's happening actually out in that field. So it'll help you make decisions quicker, more confidently with real-time information. An example of how real-time it is, during this last rain event, I'm watching the rain bucket on one of our family farms that have a rain bucket out there, and every time I refresh it, that number is being updated every time we receive another 100th of an inch of rain. So every time 100th of an inch is recorded or reported at that location, generally within seconds, I'm seeing that on the app. So it truly is real time. You don't have to wait till the next morning for an email like some other services that deliver rainfall totals to you that are more radar estimated. These are literally in real time. So when you get up in the morning and you're trying to decide, hey, where am I going in the morning? Should I be heading out to the field? If I am heading out to the field, which field should I be heading to? I know we had some rain overnight. Is this one drier than another? And then obviously irrigation decisions, knowing whether or not it's time to turn that pivot off. Did I get a 1/4 of an inch last night? I get up and look out the window. I see it rained something, but if I log into ServiTech Bridge, I can see instantly, hey, I got 1.5 inches last night. I need to shut that pivot down. If you got a quarter of an inch, you got time to spare. You probably aren't going to be heading out to the field to shut that pivot down quite yet. So giving you information like that, it's going to save you a morning of driving around trying to figure out, hey, what's wet, what's not? Do I need to start up again? Don't I? I can see the rain bucket. I can see my soil moisture probe and what I have in the soil as far as water is concerned. And I can make a quick decision without spending a half a day trying to figure out what the right decision is. So it's that real-time information. Like I said, that saves you time, and then it protects your yield from the unknown. I mean, again, there's a lot of things that happen throughout a growing season, and if you wait till the end of the season and see what the yield map tells you, sometimes there's going to be surprises. But if you have sensors out in the field 24/7 informing you of what's happening out there, it's sure going to help you have that confidence that when you go to the field at harvest, that what you're expecting to be there is going to be there. Okay, so that's a really quick overview of what ServiTech Bridge is. I know I didn't go real in depth there, but I think by going through the platform itself, it will kind of tell the story better than me just talking about it. So let me go ahead and switch my view to ServiTech Bridge platform. All right. So here's the ServiTech Bridge. It's the first thing generally you're going to see when you log in is the status page. Now, you can go in the settings and edit where you want that landing page to be, which view you want to start on. That's real simple. You can go into the settings and choose that. But for most people, I think the status page is probably where you're going to start. So this is what you see. You log in. Here's our one example field. I mean, right now there's not a lot of probes out in the field, especially in row crop. So there's not a lot of example data to look at today, but that's not really the point of this webinar. The point is just to familiarize yourself with what to expect with a ServiTech Bridge subscription. For those of you that have subscribed or those of you that are thinking about subscribing, this is what you're going to see once we get into season and you can start seeing information coming from your sensors. So the first thing you see is not a bunch of numbers. You don't see graphs and charts and all of that type of information, which all that data is there, all that information is there, but we realize that the whole point of having something functioning out in the field, a sensor out in the field, providing you information is so that it's understandable, so that it's actionable. So when you see it, you realize what it's telling you and not that it's, okay, there's a graph, but what does it mean? I still don't understand if my soil is wet or if it's dry. So at ServiTech, I mean, we've spent obviously decades of time in the field with thousands and probably millions of acres scouted, and a lot of that experience has been used to build this platform. So we understand the information that a grower needs or an agronomist needs to make a decision when it comes to irrigation or going to the field or a spraying operation. I mean, all those types of things that weather and field conditions impact decisions on. So we're delivering that in a very streamlined, straightforward, hopefully easy to understand platform. Now, all that other stuff is there, and I'll kind of show you where that is as far as the charts and the graphs for those of you that want to dig in a little bit deeper. But this is in my mind the place you start to kind of create that priority list for the day. You look through here and say, okay, what's happening across my farm in my different fields? Is there something that's really dry? Is the ET changing significantly? What stage is some of my crops? Where's my pivot at? Did it rain last night or not? Is my well on? All those types of things. You can come here first thing in the morning and create that priority list. Instead of driving from field to field, wondering, okay, should I be going to this field to check on it? Well, everything was fine there, but maybe your third field, that would be your third stop of the day, you get there and realize there's a problem. Well, it would have been great and it would have been economically beneficial for you to be there sooner to fix that problem, because there was a problem there. So in my mind, this is helping you create that priority list. So what you see here is a field named Brent's, and a couple of crops out there. So this is all, there is an actual probe out in this field. We have some simulated planting dates in here just to give you some idea of what's happening. We don't have any two-leaf corn around where we're at, but that's not the point. The point is that all the sensor data is live, and we've just simulated a planting date. But for the grower, they'll come in and put that information in there. There's literally just 3 things you need to enter on each field, and you'll get updated information all season long. It's what crop is it, what planting date, and what maturity. And if you do that for each crop that you have in each field that you have enrolled in ServiTech Bridge, you'll get constant updates of growth stage, ET, your soil moisture availability. So looking at the status page right now, I can see it's cloudy, it's cool, it's probably 40-some degrees here, so the forecasted ET is quite low, 0.01. I can see what stage my soybeans are, and I can also see that I have 0.86 inches of available soil moisture. What that number is your root, what's available in that root zone. So we're modeling the root depth for you too. So when you look here, this is exactly what your plant has access to as far as the root depth is concerned. So as those soybeans continue to mature, move down the road towards maturity, we'll be updating that rooting depth as the growth stage changes, so that when you're scheduling irrigation, you're scheduling irrigation with what's really happening out in the field. Not only how deep are the roots, what can they actually reach, what can they get to, but looking at that whole profile with the probe as well. So you can do that different ways in the drill down once we go in and look at soil moisture data, but to give you a real-time snapshot of what's happening, that's what that soil moisture icon does. It tells me exactly how much water is available in that profile. And then if you go down here below in the 3rd row, you can see how much rainfall we've received. We've received over 0.4 in the last 24 hours, so 0.42 inches. And I can also see where my pivot is, and I can see that it's off. When that pivot comes on, I'll see what direction it's going, if it's forward or reverse. If there is a fault, it'll alert us to a fault happening too. So if your pivot gets out of line, it will tell you that, hey, this pivot stopped and that there's a fault. It's not giving you control, but it's telling you exactly what's happening with your pivot. These are some other sensors that I mentioned in the opening, I guess, that weather stations, flow sensors and things like that. Those are yet to be deployed. They will be here in the next month or so. These other sensors, a bin fan monitor and your well monitor, those as well will be getting deployed here in just over a month. So as we deploy those sensors for this field, those icons will light up to indicate, telling that grower, okay, my well's on, my well's off, my fan's on, my fan's off. So if they log in and see, or they receive an alert, and that's the next page I'll show you here in a second, but either they receive an alert or you log in and say, hey, the status changed, I wonder why it shouldn't have. Again, knowing more about what's happening out in your field without needing to drive by it a couple times a day. So all of this gives you that quick overview, but there are things like if your field's getting dry, if your pivot stops, if you receive rainfall, those are things happening out in the field that you want to be alerted for. So that's why we have the alerts page. So if you go to the alerts, we don't have any alerts today, but this is what your alerts will look like. We'll have different priorities as far as, hey, this isn't really important. And then there's other things like, well, it rained, and that's a good thing to know. And it's not that your crop's under stress or anything like that, but it's just information that you can scan through quickly. Again, it's just another way to see your information. It's the same information delivered in a different way that helps organize it in priority, basically saying, okay, here's some things that are happening out in your fields. The red ones, the yellow ones are more important, but then there's some other things that happen, and we're just letting you know. And if you want to dismiss them, you just click on the X and they will just disappear. So now if I want to go down to my drill down from my soil moisture probe, when I tap on that icon, this is where it brings me. It brings me to this graph. So if I want to know more information about my probe, this is where I see it. I can see different sensor depths. You can see my rainfall over the last 24 hours on each location. As you can see here, you can choose to either view it by the root zone or the total profile. So if I want to switch views, I can check or uncheck that box and the graph will update. If I want to see the average for the whole profile, I can click on that as a drop-down option and see the soil moisture trend over time. Again, if I want to focus on a certain time period, I can zoom in using this little slider here. I can also drag it back and forth, but I can zoom in and I can see, hey, this is what happened. Here's a 3/10 of an inch, a little more than that rainfall event. I can see that soil moisture probe respond. I got just a little bit here, and then there's a little response there too. So it will help you understand how much water is actually getting into the soil, how deep it's penetrating the soil. When you do get one, if you're looking at it on a sensor by sensor, you can see how deep is that water getting into the soil. Is it most of the sensors responding? Is just the top sensor responding? So it kind of gives you an idea of where that soil moisture is within that profile as well. If I scroll down, there's a chart giving you some of that same information along with their soil texture, which we always take at every single installation because we want to know what the water holding capacity is at that site with 100% certainty. So that when we're saying you have this much available water, we know because we've measured what the water holding capacity of that soil is. And that really is something unique to our platform. Then there's some other settings down here that we'll make the default settings. We'll have them set up for you. But if you want to go in here and tweak some of these, you sure can. But for 90% of the systems, as far as irrigation goes, I think we'll have them pretty close or pretty spot on to what the average field would require. But if you have a well that has tremendous capacity, you can put on a lot of water really fast. Maybe you want to let your field get a little drier, so you can adjust these numbers just a little bit, or the reverse problem, which is or the reverse situation, which is probably more common, is that you don't have enough water, so you want to be alerted sooner. You don't want to let it get too dry, so you can bring this action point down a little bit, so or raise it, I should say, so that you don't want it to get too low. You want to be alerted sooner so that you can start watering again, because you just don't have the capacity to put on a lot of water really quickly. So then there's some calibration settings down here. Again, this is stuff that ServiTech will set, but if a user is familiar with the system and they want to make some adjustments, we give you the ability to do it. We don't expect most growers to be utilizing the calibration settings for the most part. One other drill down, I guess we can look at really quickly here, or maybe a couple. So here's your rainfall. We'll give you what you have year to date, then the 24-hour rainfall totals. If I scroll down here, I can see, okay, in the last 12 hours, last 24 hours, 7 days year to date, this is what I've received. The last one we'll take a quick look at will be the pivot status. So exactly what you would expect, showing where the pivot's at, whether it's on or off, when the last change is. So we do have a log here of when that pivot's been on and off. A few setup things down here at the bottom. That's number one thing. How long is the coordinates for that pivot? And then if it's a windshield wipe, we can put in your minimum and maximum angles to accommodate those windshield wiper pivots. So that's your drill down for your pivot. So as you can see, each one of these icons are interactive. If you want more information, it's there, it's available. You just click on it and it'll take you there. The next button I'll click on is the maps. So here's the map view. This is where you're going to see your imagery. You're going to see your imagery along with your sensor information. So if I want to know something about my pivot, I can click on it. These labels will actually be turned on within about a week or so, where you're not going to have to click on it. You're just going to see it. So hopefully it'll make it a little easier to zoom out. If you do have lots of fields, you want to see, okay, where did it rain across my whole farm? I've got 6 or 8 rain buckets spread across all my fields, or strategic fields, however you would want to set it up. If you did that, you could zoom out and you'd be able to see that label and it'll tell you how much rain you've received. Right now I have it set to show me the weekly totals, but clicking this little pop out here, I can change that. If I want to always see what the 24-hour rain gauge totals are from the map view, I can do that. And when I click on that, now there's the 24-hour total, 0.42. Same with capacitance probe. I can see we're basically at full saturation here. You can click on it, get more information, but you do have some options as far as what different things you want to see on the map as it relates to soil moisture. You can see your boundaries, your crop boundaries, your pivot status, all these things you can turn on and off. You can either see your natural color, your crop vigor, which would be similar to your NDVI, but we're using a slightly different index that we think is going to be just bring out a little more contrast and make it a little easier to see some variability that's happening out in the field. So that's what the crop vigor is, and that's the current view. So the reason we're offering or we're providing imagery along with the sensors is to help again those decision makers feel confident in the decision they're making when it comes to things like irrigation. So if I have a soil moisture probe out in the field, I'm hoping that my soil moisture probe isn't in this one little red dot here. When we go out and install that, I mean, we're looking for anomalies in odd places and fields that we want to certainly avoid. We're going to go and install those exactly where they were ordered for 9 times out of 10, but then there'll be that one time like, well, this is actually not representing the area very well. We're going to move 100 feet this way or 100 feet that way, or whatever it takes to get in that same general area, but in a more representative area of that field. So when we go out there and install it and everything looks good, we want to give the grower confidence too that area is still, that probe is still in an area that represents that spot fairly well, so that they can log in here. I can see my probe. I can zoom in on my imagery and say, you know, the crop health in this area is pretty similar. It's pretty similar across this field. Now, this field does have a lot more variability, but we're also talking about a mostly bare image soil, a bare soil image. So we don't have any growing vegetation here. Once we do, I would expect this to look a little bit more even across the field, at least for a while, until the season starts moving along here. And you never know what happens and as stress happens out in the field. But for right now, this isn't showing crop vegetation, it's showing the most recent image, and which was on, looks like today, May 7th. So, but having that image in the background where your senses are, again, just paint a more clear picture of what's happening out in that field. The last button I was gonna just point out to everyone is that help button down at the bottom. So if you do have questions once you log into Bridge, especially that first time, and you're seeing some things and you need a little help or you want a little guidance, go ahead and click on the help. You can chat with us. You can go to our knowledge base where there's a lot of information there, or you can see if you want to contact us directly through either email or a phone call. That information's all right there for you as well. That really covers what I wanted to get through. It was really fast. It was a really quick hitter, but that's the whole point. The app is meant to be simple. There's not a day-long training to learn how to use ServiTech Bridge. Think about the other things you do on your phone, like email and text messaging and phone calls. Yes, people still use their phone for phone calls too, but all the other things you do, check the weather, all the apps you use, there's no training required for using your phone. And this is the same exact thing. We want it to be intuitive, simple. You touch an icon, oh, there's more information. I want to see it on a spatially, oh, I click on a map. Okay, now I can see all my sensors on my map. I can pan around, I can look at different fields. I can click on sensors, see what it's telling me. I can go to my status page and get that quick update, quick hitter of, hey, what's the current conditions? What's happening right now? Is there something I need to be aware of? Is there something I need to go do? Maybe I have an agronomist and he was out there yesterday, but it rained 1.5 inches. Now I want to kind of see how that impacted the soil moisture and some of the other things that are happening out in that field that changed since the last time someone was there, be it my agronomist or myself. There's just a lot of things frequently changing, and we understand that people's time is very valuable. That's why you don't have time to come in for a day-long training to try and learn something. We don't expect people to be a soil scientist to be able to understand the information that ServiTech Bridge is delivering. We just want it to be easy, straightforward, easy to interpret information that you can make a decision on and move along with your day, and make sure that you're finding the things that really need to be found to really impact that bottom line, so that something doesn't go unnoticed when it needs to be noticed and there needs to be some action taken. So that's what ServiTech Bridge is here to help. Avoid wasting money on overwatering, on underwatering. I mean, there's plenty of studies that show the potential for yield loss not just underwatering, but overwatering as well. Knowing what your field conditions are every day. I mean, just having that real-time information, like I said, you don't have to wait for an email the next morning. You know, within a few minutes, how much rainfall a certain field just received. There's no equipment to own, so it's easy to get started. There's no equipment to own. You don't have to buy it. There's nothing you need to install. We handle all the installation, all the maintenance. It's one flat fee, no additional cost. The data connection, the software, the sensors, all that other stuff that used to be a price for everything, it's just included. We know you need all that. We want to make it simple, easy to get started, and hassle-free. And that's really, I think, that's been our goal all along. And then lastly, just kind of avoid any of those surprises, like I said, mentioned earlier at harvest. You just never know what's happening out in that field all season long. I mean, it's a long season, and there's corn and soybeans and lots of other things that have been just planted in the last 2 weeks, and that clock has started. So for those crops, it's important for them to get off to a good start, and if they don't, it has an impact all season long. So same can be said for a week from now or a month from now. So again, having sensors out in those fields, knowing what's happening at all times, just with a quick glance, can be really powerful. So with that, if you are interested, we are going to be sending out a follow-up email to everyone who joined the webinar, providing you some more information about where to go for more information if you're interested, if you want to order, those kinds of things. If you have questions, just check out that email, and feel free to contact us with, like I said, questions about stuff you've already ordered, or if you are a new customer and want more information or think you want to subscribe, there'll be information in that email that tells you how to get in touch with us. Just want to take the opportunity here to thank everyone for joining. Hopefully the weather kind of straightens out here. I know some of you are probably still in the field today while others got rained out. So anyone that was able to join today and take a little bit of time to check out what ServiTech Bridge is, and hopefully we were able to get across that really the whole point of ServiTech Bridge is to be a time saver and an information provider in a real simple but powerful way. So with that, I'll let everyone go. And again, thank you very much, and have a great rest of the week.